Those who are through, you can send in your answers. So if I can read through, the answers that we've gotten. We are having 13.70, another individual 13.70, another individual 13.7 centimeters, another individual 13.69, someone else giving 13.69 centimeters squared, 13.7, 13.70, and other answers. Is there anyone who is getting a challenge in doing? Yes, I can see someone is getting a challenge in doing. So let's be together as I put something across. The shaded region is called a segment. The shaded region is called a segment. For us to get area of a segment, we need to get the area of sector, and the sector is AOB. AOB. And also we need to get the area of the triangle. Again, the triangle is AOB. Now, a sector is a region. Sector is a region bound by two radii and an arc. A sector is a region bound by two radii and an arc. While a segment is a region bound by a chord and an arc. A chord is a straight line, there AB, while the arc is part of the circumference. So for us to get that segment, we need the area of the sector, then we'll subtract area of the triangle. The sector in this case, area of a sector is theta over 360 pi r squared. Theta over 360 pi r squared. The pi we've been asked to use is 22 over 7, as you can see it in the question. So you follow that to the latter, the pi given, 22 over 7. So we'll have 100 over 360 times 22 over 7 times r, which is 6, and it is squared. That should give us 31 and 3 over 7, which is 31.42857. Continuing. But you don't round off at that point, we'll round off the final answer. Now, the area of the triangle. The area of the triangle, given the angle as 100 degrees. So it is a half AB sine theta. Area of the triangle, a half AB sine theta. So that would be 1 over 2 times 6 sine 100, giving you 17.7265. When you subtract, what do you get? And you put to 2 decimal places. What should that give us? When we have undertaken the subtraction, we round off at the very end. We don't round off too soon. Hello? Enoch?
13.70.
13.70. Thank you. That gives 13.70. I hope you followed through and you know what a segment is, a sector, and the triangle that is given there. I hope those who are having issues are answered. We move to number 13. Number 13, use prime factors of 1764 and 2744 to evaluate the square root of 1764 over the cube root of 2744. That question is 3 marks. Let's do it. Then we suggest in our answer. We do question 13. One minute, then we chat in our answers for question 13. So I'm seeing guys writing their answers. Cyril 3, Onafros 3, Shadrach 3, Edward 3. And let's keep the answers coming. Clarence 3, Malcolm 3, Liban 3, Lincoln 3. Yeah, so it seems the answer is 3, and it is true that the answer is 3. Now, how do we score in this question? I just want to mention something. I know we are all getting the correct answer as 3. But the question suggests use prime factors of 1764 and 2744 to evaluate. The first method mark would be scored when there is evidence for use of prime factors. The first method mark will be scored when we see the evidence of use of prime factors. So it means the numbers 1764 must be written in terms of its prime factors. And the number 2744 should also be written. So what is 1764, someone, in terms of its prime factors? Christian.
The answer is 2 raised to power 2 times 3 raised to power 2 times 7 raised to power 2.
Yes. 2 squared, 3 squared by 7 squared. That must be seen somewhere. The other number, 2744. Helmut, Damba.
2 cubed times 7 cubed.
It is 2 cubed times 7 cubed. So when those two are seen, that is when we give you the first method mark. Then the second method mark is now when you put those prime factors back to the equation and cancel out until you get the 3. That is when you will get the second method mark and the answer mark. Very well, that was quite simple, but you've noted where I'm mentioning the first marking point. Number 14. A rectangular block is 50 centimeter long and 15 centimeter wide. If its mass is 18 kilogram and its density is 2.4 gram per centimeters cube, we are asked to find the height. We take 1.5 minutes to tackle the question. Then we suggest in our answers. Number 14. So I read through the answers that we are getting. Mark 10 centimeter, Victor 10 centimeter, Brand Munuve question 14 10, Mackenzie 10, Morgan 10, Yunus Ali getting 10, Alcano getting 10, Steve Corrit 10. Yeah. Anyone who is having an issue in doing the question so that we do it together? Jim Muriithi 10.
Yes, sir.
Yes, Ogali Alvin. Do you have an issue or you wanted to answer?
I have an issue.
Okay. Bye. I give a chance to someone who can explain. By show of hands, someone who can explain that question. William Kibet, take it up.
First, you use the mass of the block and the density to find the volume. You need to get the volume as
Louder, louder.
you use the mass of the block and the density of the block. You divide them to find the volume of the block, which you find to be 7,500 cubic centimeters. Then you divide 7,500 cubic centimeters by the dimensions of the 50 times 15, which you get as 10 centimeters as the height.
Well mentioned. You use the density. You know that density is equals to mass over volume. We are given mass. And the volume, we are just given the base area. We need the height. So that density 2.4, you equate to, you have to convert the 18 kilograms to grams. Then now 2.4 is equals to that grams over the volume, which is 50 by 15 by the height which we are looking for. You evaluate that, you divide accordingly and find the height to be remaining as 10 centimeters. I hope the guy who was having an issue is directed accordingly. Alvin.
Yes, yes.
Very well. Question 15. A triangle ABC is such that AB is 12, AC 17. Its area is given as 512 centimeters squared. Find the size of the angle BAC. So you can sketch out the triangle and put in the dimensions that are given and find out which formula can we use for such a triangle in determining its area. So we do it 1 minute, then we suggest in our answers. We jot in our answers. We've gotten one person. Someone is giving us 11.49 degrees. Number 15, anyone else? Does it mean we have issues with number? This is number 15, because answers are not flowing in.
Yes.
How are you, teacher? Hello?
Hello, fine, we are fine.
Hello.
Yes.
So, maybe I could give my input.
Yes, sir.
Whenever you see triangles, there are things that you should come into your mind. Number one, you should think of trigonometric ratios. Then number two, you should think of area. Then the other thing is solving triangles. Solving triangle means what? You'll be given sides, you'll be given angles. So solving means you look for those that are missing. Maybe you're told to look for a certain angle, a certain side. Those are some of the things that you should be thinking of whenever you see triangles. Now, in this question, we are talking about area because at some point in the question, we have area. So we have several formulas that you can make use in getting areas. Maybe a suggestion of the formulas we can use. What are some of, yes, Christian Bidi?
We can use the heroes formula.
We can use the heroes formula. The heroes formula states what? That the area will be obtained by getting what? S. Then we have S into A, or rather S minus A. Then we have S minus B. We have S minus C. Now, Christian, what is A, B, C? Or somebody else, what do you understand by A, B, and C?
A, B, and C are the sides of the triangle.
Now, A, B, and C are sides of the triangle. So that means for you to be able to use, or before we go to that point, what does C, what does S give you? What is S? Gabriel Mwangi.
S is half the perimeter.
S is half the perimeter. So in a nutshell, what we are saying is, for you to be able to use this formula, you need to have the A, the B, and the C given. You need to have A, B, C given. Then from A, C, and B, you add to get P, so that you say P over 2 gives you S. Now, going back to our question, do we have A, B, and C given? A, B, C being the sides of our triangle. So we are missing one bit. We have two of them, then one is missing. So that tells you Hero's formula may not be appropriate. Another formula, apart from the Hero's formula? Ray Mungai?
I have A, B sine theta.
I have A, B sine theta. Now, I have A, B sine theta works very well if you have a triangle provided two sides, let's say side A, side B, and an enclosed angle. What do we mean by an enclosed angle? That angle that is made by the two given sides. You have side A, you have side B. The intersection of A and B, where the A meets B, we have an angle. If A is provided, B is provided, then theta is provided, then we make use of a half A, B, then the sine of the given angle. Like in this case, I have theta. Now going to our triangle, I believe we were all able to make a sketch, and the sketch we made had sides A, B, and C. Or rather had angles A, B, and C. We give angles in capital letter. We had the sides given as what? Somebody to give us the sides given?
AC 17.
A is 17. What other side was given?
AB 12.
AB 12.
AB, we have AB as 12. Now, what did the question give us?
Area.
We have area.
512.
Area is 512. Now, what is being asked for?
Angle BAC.
Angle BAC. So, what we are missing here, we can call it theta. Now, I want us to look at the formula we've we've stated before, or rather the second last formula. Leave alone now the Hero's formula, because we saw that Hero's formula will not be appropriate for our question because we are missing part C. Now let's look at the formula that is on the screen. We have AB sine theta. We said theta is that angle that is in between the two given sides. Now the question would be, does what we have on the screen look like our question?
Yes. Yes.
Now, is this formula appropriate for this question?
Yes.
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 So if that is the case, then what we do, we substitute. We go on now substituting. We've been told that area is a half AB sine theta. We have area given as a half AB sine theta. Now, can you now try and substitute? Because we have A, we have B, we are missing theta, and the area is given. Can you try now and substitute and see whether you can maybe solve for theta? Because from there you'll just be needing your knowledge on algebra. We have A given, we have B given, we are missing theta, area is given. Can you now try and substitute? Maybe a minute to do the substitution.
Madera.
You're getting math error.
Yes.
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 Madera.
Madera.
What is A?
Madera.
What was A? What did you get as your
Yes.
what was the area first of all? What is the area given?
512.
512.
112. What sides do you have?
12 and 17.
12 by
17.
Sir. Hello, sir.
Proceed.
There is an error with the question because actually the boys have also realized that the area given as 512 is too big. So what we can do, let's use the area as 51. Instead of 512 in the area, let us use 51 centimeters squared, so that when we are getting the angle, we do not realize the error. So please, correction to the question. We use the area of the triangle as 51 instead of 512. I hope I'm heard.
Now with the 51, is it working?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Now all of us are okay. With 51,
So when we use 51, we get the angle as 30 degrees, and it is exact 30 degrees.
Yes. 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 Yes.
okay. Now, summary of it all is that you need to look at your triangle and try and understand what do you have in that triangle, and from what you have, what formula can you make use of? And maybe finally before we go to the next question, what is the other formula of getting area of triangle? What is the other formula of getting area of a triangle? Somebody?
Pythagoras.
A half base times height. Now, for a half base times height, you have to check and see whether you are working with a right angle triangle, because we talk of a base and a height and a hypotenuse only when we are working with a right angle triangle. So in a situation where you have a right angle triangle, the more so we have a half AB sine theta. That is when we are given two sides and an enclosed angle. Then we have a half base times height if we are working with a right angle triangle. Then we have the hero's formula if you are given three sides, or if you are in a position to solve and get the three sides. That is understood.
Excuse me.
Yes.
Okay, my question is, there are situations whereby you have to use a unit circle so as to get like the angle. So how do you, or it's applied in which cases?
Now for unit circle, we have trigonometry 2. In trigonometry 2, that is form 3, we deal with angles that are bigger than 90. You notice that in form 2, we work with trigonometric ratios. Trigonometric ratios give us trigonometric ratios have some limitations. That is to say, theta must lie between 0 and 90. For trigonometric ratios, we have theta lying between 0 and 90. But now we have angles that are bigger than 90. For example, you can get an angle like 121 degrees. So the unit circle comes in to help us get now ratios of angles that are bigger than 90. Any angle that falls between 0 and 180, an angle like 160, 170, 210, 300, even going beyond one revolution, we can talk of the angle 400. With the unit circle, you can get the sine, the cosine, and the tangent of those angles that are bigger than 90. For form 2, theta lied between 0 and 90. But with the advanced trigonometry, we notice that we have angles that go beyond 90, and therefore we make use of the unit circle. That is clear?
Yes.
And maybe if you have a triangle, let's say you're solving a triangle, and this triangle has an obtuse angle. This triangle has an obtuse angle. You are going to make use of that concept of the unit circle. Have AB sine theta, assuming now theta 20. The unit circle is your question answered?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Mwalimu, we can proceed.
Yes, we are now in question 16. A question on, again, factors, but testing on GCD. But we are given a combination of numbers and terms. So find the greatest common divisor of the terms 9x cubed y squared and 4x y to power 4. We suggest in our answers, but I know you people will have a challenge in putting the power. So maybe anyone who has gotten it to just raise the hand and put in the answer. We will be noting. So if someone is talking, you note the answer given. If you have your answer, raise your hand and put in your answer, because I know we'll have issues with typing the power. But those who can, I know you are up to technology. Yeah, like Nellis Murage has given us xy squared. Someone else? Helmut?
Yeah, I've also got an xy squared.
Xy squared, very well. Next.
XY squared.
There is James Mashari or James somebody giving us xy to power 2. Sean Leshan has also given us the xy squared. Then Ryan is struggling to put the square, but he has got xy2, which we are reading as xy squared very well. Barakatai. So it means our answer is xy squared. Now, they are asking us the greatest common factor or the greatest common term that for 9x cubed and y squared and 4x y to power 4. So we are looking for a term that can go into. 9x cubed y squared and 4xy to power 4. You can see in terms of number, like 2 will go into 4 but cannot go into 9. 3 will go into 9 but cannot go into 4. So in terms of numbers, we do not have a number. In terms of the letters, the first part we have x cubed, the second part we have x. So we can just suggest that a single x is a term that goes into both of them. Then we check for y. The first term has got y squared, so we can pick y squared. The second term has got y to power 4, which when we pick y squared, it means that one divides both of them. So the greatest common divisor for the terms is x and y squared. X, y squared. Then I'll ask if you are able to see my second screen where I'm writing on. Not screen really, but the camera. Check on my camera. I have a square book. So our term there is xy squared. Now, question 16b. Hence, factorize completely the expression. We've been asked to factorize completely. 9x cubed y squared minus 4xy to power 4. In factorizing, we are using the greatest common divisor that we've used, or rather that we've gotten in 16a above. So when we factor out xy squared, we remain with 9x squared minus 4y squared. I hope you are together up to that point for anyone who is following.
Sir,
Yes, Helmut?
we are okay.
Yeah. Then now we've been asked to factorize it completely. If you check at what is inside the bracket, with the quadratic identities that you covered in Form 2, and part of it mentioned again in Form 3, you can factorize inside the bracket. You can factorize inside the bracket by using the third quadratic identity. Which is mentioned as the difference of two squares. So it means you can get the square root of the first part, which is 3x, and the square root of the second part, which is 2y. Then you put them in two parts, with one with a plus and another one with a minus. So there is 3x plus 2y and 3x minus 2y. That is the expansion of what is inside the bracket. But remember, also outside, we had xy squared. So that will be our final factorization.
Repeat.
For the terms. So we have outside xy squared into bracket 3x plus 2y and 3x minus 2y. Anyone with a question on that area? Sorry, who is talking?
So maybe what Mwalimu is saying is, number one, you need how to get common factors. That is the first thing that question wanted you to do. You should be able to get common factors. You have 8, you have 16 common factors factored out. Then number two, especially now on part B, you need to recall what you are taught in Form 1 partly and what you are taught in Form 2. In Form 1, you are told to factorize by grouping, where you get to put two items, or rather to group some items in twos, then from each you get the common factor out. That is number one. Then number two, in Form 2, you are taught how to factorize using the quadratic identities. Quadratic identities, there is a one that we talk of difference of two squares. You have a squared minus b squared. A perfect square being subtracted from another perfect square. We call that difference of two squares. Now, after we factorized what we have here, you realize that whatever is left inside looks like a minus b, or rather a squared minus b squared. So you make use of that concept of difference of two squares. And maybe someone, how does factoring perfect of two squares lead us to? If you have a squared minus b squared, so that we see whether we are together, factor that out, what do you end up with? Someone? If you factor a squared minus b squared, what do you end up with? Making use of the concept of difference of two squares.
Raymond, give us an answer. Raymond or Ian Kanyote. Two people have raised their hands. Romanus.
A minus b into a plus b.
Now that is perfect. That is the same concept that you are supposed to use in search. If you have a factorization that you are talking of something that is perfect squared, you know perfect squared are those squares that will give you perfect or rather exact answers. Like 9 is a perfect square. 16 is a perfect square. So if you have 16 minus 9, that is a difference of two squares. That could be obtained by getting the square of each. You put them in brackets. The first bracket you put a plus, the other bracket you put a minus. That was covered in Form 2. Maybe Mwalimu, you can proceed to the next question.
Excuse me, Chair, I have a question.
Yes?
Okay, in which occasions are you going to break down the question like the way we have done in this case, whereby we had nx squared minus 4y squared, and we broke it down inside the bracket?
Okay, the first bit was to get the common factors. Once you factor out the common factors, you will be left with some bracket inside. The bracket that is left inside, you notice that is a difference of two squares. Or is a difference of two squares. So you make use of difference of two squares to further factorize whatever was left inside the bracket.
If they can see my screen, an example would be 18x squared minus 8y squared. Not my screen really, but the camera. 18x squared minus 8y squared, or you can write it down. So you see, in this case, it is suggesting that there is a way in which we can get difference of two squares. But that can only be realized when we factored out a number. So in this case, we factor out 2. What can go into both of them? The common factor will be 2 into 9x squared minus 4y squared. Now, if you see what is remaining inside the bracket, now we have terms that are perfect square or that are perfect squares. Like 9x squared will be 3x. 4y squared will be 2y. One with a plus and the same thing with a minus. Then outside there is a major bracket with 2. Is that okay, Seth?
Yes, it's okay. Thank you.
We proceed to the next question, which is now in section 2, question 17. Question 17 from 2 work. Equations of a straight line, gradient, and equations of a straight line. Maybe I ask Prince Gitonga, can you read the question? Okay. Anyone who is ready? Abedi?
Yes, sir.
Question 17, read through.
A straight line y is equals to 2 over 3x minus 2 over 3 meets the x-axis at point T. Determine the coordinate T.
So that is the first part. We are supposed to get the coordinates of T, and you know how you present your answer when you are asked coordinates. So maybe we try it out, then we see. We get the answers, try it out very fast. Question 17, part A, try it out. You put in your answers. Jordan is giving us that T is 1,0. Peter Kipruto 1,0. Hopkins 1,0. Very well. A good number of answers coming. Prince 1,0. Martin the same. Kareidi the same. Louis. Steve Korir. Bran Munuve. Bran, you need to have a comma. It is 1,0, not 10. Then Brian Sawe, the same thing. You do not have brackets. When you don't put in brackets, then they are not coordinates. Very well. Anyone having issues? Anyone having issues so that we can do it together? Two people have raised their hands. One person has written on. Jeremy Mwaniki, tell me. What's the issue, or you are just asking we do it together?
You can do it together.
Now we check. I hope most of you can see the book I'm writing on.
Yes, sir.
A straight line y, the equation of the line is y is equal to 2 over 3x minus 2 over 3. This equation has been written in the form y is equals to mx plus c.
0, 7, 9.
And therefore, we can get the gradient as 2 over 3. You can get the y-intercept. The y-intercept is a constant out there. It is negative 2 over 3. Now, when you are told that a line is meeting an axis, in this case, it is x-axis at point T. You know very well that at the x-axis, the value of y is 0. On the x-axis, the value of y is 0. If I am to draw a Cartesian plane, a sketch of a Cartesian plane, this is the y-axis, this is the x-axis. When we have a line crossing this way, this is my line. Let's say it is my line L1. At the point where it is crossing the x-axis, at that point, if this is the point T, it means there is a value of x, but at that point, y is 0. There is a value of x that we should be looking for, but y is 0 because on the x-axis, y is 0. On the y-axis, x is 0. So for that equation given, we substitute y with 0. On that equation given, we substitute y with 0. So we'll have 0 equals to 2 over 3x minus 2 over 3. Then you solve that equation for x. So that would be 2 over 3 positive is equal to 2 over 3 over x. You multiply both sides by 3 over 2, 3 over 2. By 3 over 2, by 3 over 2. You end up with the value of x as 1. So you have x as 1 and y as 0 because it's on the x-axis. Now t, in terms of coordinates, will be 1, 0. This is what I'm saying. There must be a bracket. There must be a comma. Sawa sawa?
Yes.
Aya. Number part B.
Yes.
Part B. A second line L2 is perpendicular to L1 at T. Find the equation of line L2 in the form AX plus BY is equals to C, where A, B, and C are constants. So we are given the principles of line. We can say lines are parallel or lines are perpendicular. Perpendicular, they are meeting at 90 degrees. So the point at which L1 and L2 are perpendicular is at that point T. So we can sketch, this is line L1 going that direction. This is L2 going this direction. Where they are meeting is point T. And we've gotten the coordinates as 1, 0. Someone to tell me what we know about perpendicular lines. Meshak. Meshak Abuyabo. Barak Otieno. They are struggling to unmute. Maybe Victor Kamau.
The product of their gradients is -1.
The product of their gradient is -1. So the gradient of L1 multiplied by the gradient of L2 should give us -1. So in this case, we just have the gradient of L1. So M1 is 2 over 3. What would be M2 when we undertake that multiplication? What would be M2, the gradient of L2? Martin.
-3 over 2.
Negative?
-3 over 2.
-3 over 2, correct. So for L2, we have the gradient -3 over 2. We have the point T through which it is passing 1, 0. We are supposed to get its equation. We are supposed to get its equation. Equation of a line, change in y over change in x is equal to the gradient. So it will be y minus 0 over x minus 1 is equal to negative 3 over 2. We cross multiply. Y minus 0, x minus 1 is equal to negative 3 over 2. Then you cross multiply that. Give us an answer. Someone to put in an answer. I've seen the ones that have been written on the chat box. There is someone here, Collins.
Yes.
You've given us in the form y is equals to mx plus c. But the question is asking us to give it in the form ax plus by is equals to c. So you'll only score the answer mark when you've given it in the right form. I can see Taya giving us 3x plus 2y minus 3. That's not conclusive. Alexander, 3x plus 2y is equals to 3. Yeah, so when we cross multiply and rearrange, we end up with 3x plus 2y is equals to 3. 3x plus 2y is equals to 3. I hope there is no question up to that point. If there is none, we move to part C of 17. A third line L3 passes through negative 4, 1. A third line L3 passes through negative 3, 1 and is parallel to L1. Find the equation of L3 in the form y is equals to mx plus c.
9, 3, 7, 2.
Someone to tell us, what do we know about parallel lines?
They have the same gradient.
Same gradient.
They have the same gradient.
Someone is mentioning something?
They have the same gradient.
They have the same gradient. So the gradient of L1 was
2 over 3.
2 over 3. So it means L3 is also 2 over 3 because they are parallel. Now this L3 is again passing through for negative 1. I mean negative 4, 1. Negative 4, 1. Find its equation, very easy. Fidel?
Y is equals to 2/3 x plus 11 over 3.
Y is equals to 2 over 3x plus
11 over 3.
11 over 3. Someone to confirm if that's correct?
Yes, it's correct.
Yes.
Yes, Joshua is saying it's correct.
Yes.
Justin is also saying it's correct. Jason, check at your answer. Sorry, Jason.
Yes.
Check at the answer you've written. You've also given that 11 over x, there is, I mean 11 over 3, there is an x, but that is the y-intercept, so it is not having an x. Question C part 2. Question C part 2 is asking us the coordinates of S, where L3 and L1 intersect. the coordinates of x where L3 and L1 intersect. Who knows what they are asking?
The solution.
Pardon?
The solution for the two equations.
The solution for the two equations. Someone is saying the solution for the two equations true. There is this other guy also who have raised their hands, but I can't see them. Yeah. So the point of intersection of two lines is like you are solving the two equations. And solving two equations is either you solve you solve them simultaneously. So by substitution, by elimination, by graphical. If you are solving by elimination, then you have to arrange them to be in the same form. Like L3 that we have there, you have to put in the form AX plus BY is equals to C, because, and also the L1 that we have in the equation, you also put in the form AX plus BY is equals to C. But if you are solving by, so that is if you are solving by elimination, you put all of them in that form. But when you are solving by substitution, and they are all in the form y is equals to mx plus c, y is equals to mx plus c, then you just equate the two. Like L1 was y is equals to 2 over 3x plus 2 over 3. That is L1. L3 we've gotten as y is equals to 2 over 3x plus 11 over 3. So you can see y is equals to, y is equals to. So if you are solving by substitution, you equate the two. So that will be 2 over 3x plus 2 over 3 is equals to 2 over 3x plus 11 over 3. For you to get the value of x, after getting the value of x, you go back and get the value of y.
Maybe Mwalimu.
Yes.
We are intersecting L1, L3 and L2. Right?
Oh, sorry, I'm talking of L1.
Yeah, it should be L3 and L1.
It should be?
L3, L2, I believe.
L3, L2.
Yes, I don't know whether you got that.
L3
Yes.
and
L3,
L2.
L2.
Yeah, because if you equate L3 and L1, you will be getting something that is not mathematically correct. You will be talking of 2 over 3x plus 2 over 3 is equals to 2 over 3x plus 11 over 3. You end up with 2 over 3 is equals to 11 over 3. So those one cannot be equated. What we equate it is L3 and L2.
Thank you, sir. I made a mistake by picking the equation of L1 instead of L2. So we've done the correct thing, L3, L2, point of intersection. Bremen. We take a roll call shortly. We are taking up a roll call. So it is coming up. Let's do it. We are at 225. We are at 225, so we want all to take the roll call, please. We start.
let's take up the roll call quickly. Look at your screen, pick your class and submit. I can see out of 224, we have around 164 who have done the roll call already. We're at 80%. There is only 181. We still have more than 30 who have not taken roll call. 3C is doing very well, just as last week. D still struggling. Look at your screen. Just pick your class and submit. It should take you about 2 seconds to finish. We are at 190 now. They're somewhere a bit slow to respond to that. At 192, still we have quite a number of not responded to roll call. %4 to go. We have only 194 yet. So we need at least 90% before we stop the roll call. We stop the count at exactly 90%.
Recording in progress.
89%. I think 1% to go before we can stop the roll call. They are somewhat taking still too long to respond. Mr. Quest, looks like some students just turn on their phones and then move away from it because they are responding after some minutes. I think we now have 200 of them. We're stopping the record now.
Okay. We want to shout out their names so that they know that we know they are not behind their screens.
That's all right, sir.
We are at what percentage?
Let me share it on the screen, sir. Let me share it right now. Just hold there. Let me share it for everyone to see. Keeping a copy of the data, sharing it on email, right? First, few seconds. This is mathematics. Here and Mburu. Okay, copy sent. Oh yeah. There it is on the screen. You can see the response.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So this is quite 200 out of 217 who responded. Only 92%. So yeah, we can continue, sir. I'm done.
Very well, thank you. And maybe to let the learners know that the next session will start at 11:30. It will be biology. And your tutors are requesting that you be with your end of term paper, biology, end of term exams, because that is the paper that you will be going through, you will be revising, you will be discussing. So biology, 11:30, you be with your end of term exams in readiness for that revision. Right, we continue. Someone was confirmed question 17, part C, Roman 2, to give us the answer.
-1,3.
-1,3. Someone to confirm? Yes, it is -1,3.
Yes.
Yes.
Very well, we proceed to the next question. The next question there is question 18, but this is application.
Hello?
This one is application of calculus. Calculus we've not done. It is in form 4. That is differentiation. We've not done that one. Number 19 is transformation. Transformation. This one is involving transformation matrix. Again, this is from 4, topic 1, matrices and transformation. We haven't done, so we could not get the coordinates of A prime, B prime, C prime. Yeah, we are at question 20, linear motion. Question 20, linear motion. Someone to read through, then we do it together.
The
Lloyd.
distance.
Lloyd, you can read.
It's a minute.
The distance between two towns.
Several people have raised their hands. Lloyd was up first.
Please, Gitonga, you can read for us.
The distance between two towns A and B is 460 kilometers. A minibus left town A at 8:45 a.m. and traveled towards B at an average speed of 65 kilometers per hour. A matatu left B at 10:55 a.m. on the same day and traveled towards A at an average speed of 8 kilometers per hour. Section part A. How far from the town B did they meet?
Mr. Mburu, you can take it up.
Okay, I hope I am audible.
Yes.
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 We have two towns. The first town is A, and the other town is B. The distance between the two towns is 460 kilometers. We have a minibus leaving town A at 8:45 and traveling towards B at an average speed of 65. So we start first of all by listing the facts from the questions. The other fact that we have from the question is that a matatu leaving B. So matatu leaving B. Time it's leaving 10:55 on the same day and traveling towards A, average speed 80 kilometers. Then how far from B did the two meet? So maybe what I can tell you for such a question, you start by simplifying your work by coming up with some sketches. The sketch should have everything that the question has told you. That is, you summarize the facts from the question. For example, you can have such a thing like this. Ian Mayangi, your hand is up. Any issue? Now that is from A to B. You have such a sketch. Then in between these two towns, we have some distance. The distance provided is 460 kilometers. After that, what else do we have? We are being told that from A, the minibus is leaving. So you can write here minibus. Then the speed for minibus is 65 kilometers per hour. Then we also have the time that the minibus is leaving. It's leaving at 8:45. Then we go to point B. Point B, what do we have? We have the matatu. Matatu is leaving at 10:55. The speed for the matatu is 80 kilometers per hour. I believe our summary has everything that the question gave us. Anything that we've omitted? If there is anything that, if there is nothing that we've omitted, now we go to what the question wants. What does part one of the question want? Somebody to read us what the question requires from us. Part one.
Distance from B when they met.
The distance from B when the two matatus meet. Now, there is what we call relative distance, and there is what we call relative speed. That is majorly what such a question requires you to make use of. You need to know relative distance, you need to know relative speed. Now, relative distance is a distance between two moving objects. If one object started moving earlier than the other one followed later, when the second one starts moving, the distance between the two becomes the relative distance. Then a relative speed would be the speed at which that relative distance is being covered. If A is very many kilometers away from B, the very many kilometers between the two is the relative distance. Then relative speed would be how fast is this relative distance being covered, because we know that distance is a rate. I mean, speed is a rate. So how fast is this distance being covered? If we have two vehicles that are approaching one another, or we can say they are moving in opposite direction, like I have put in those arrows, the distance between the two towns will be covered at a very fast rate, because A is covering from the left, B is covering from the right. So we'll have a very fast rate. And for us to get that fast rate, we normally add the speeds. So we'll be talking of 65 kilometers per hour and the speed that the other one that is moving at. Now, if they are moving away from one another, or one is trying to catch up with the other one, so the one that is ahead is adding the relative distance. The one that is behind is trying to cover, is trying to reach to the other one. So that means that the rate at which the distance between the two is covered is slowed. Why? Because the one that is in front is adding to the relative distance, while the one that is behind is subtracting the relative distance. The one that is behind always moves at a faster rate because eventually it needs to cover up the relative distance. So make sure that you have those two concepts correct. If we are moving opposite direction or the vehicles are moving towards one another, they are covering the relative distance faster because it's keep reducing from either ends. But when you're moving, one is moving away from the other, the relative distance takes longer to be covered because the first vehicle is adding to the distance, the other one is subtracting to the distance. So for such, we get the difference. For such, we add. So when they are moving towards one another, we add. When they are moving away from one another, we subtract. That is clear up to that point?
Yes.
Now, in our scenario here, the vehicles seem to be covering the relative distance together. So that means this distance will be covered in a very short time. And it will be covered in a very short time because we will be adding to the two speeds. So when we talk of relative speed, we will be talking of 65 adding 80 because 65 and 80 are both reducing the relative distance. The 65 and 80 are both reducing the relative distance. So we get the relative speeds to be what? 65, you add 80.
145.
Have 145. So that distance between the two will be covered at that rate, 145 kilometers per hour. Now let's look at the distance between the two vehicles, what we are now calling relative distance. That distance will be obtained when the second vehicle starts moving. When the second vehicle starts moving. Like in this case, we have the minibus leaving at 8:45, while the matatu is leaving at 10:55. So that tells before the matatu starts moving, the minibus will have covered some distance. So it would have reduced the 460 on its own before matatu started reducing that distance 460. So before matatu started moving, what distance had the minibus covered? Maybe someone?
140.83. 140.83.
145/6.
140.83.
Now, how do you get that? We know that it moved from 8:45 up to 10:55. Why 10:55? Because 10:55 is when the matatu started moving. So it moved for 10:55. We less 8:45. Get that the total time taken was
2 hours 10 minutes.
1 hour 10 minutes.
2 hours. 2 hours 10 minutes. 2 hours 10 minutes.
2 hours 10
2
minutes.
hours 10 minutes. Yes.
So the minibus alone moved for 2 hours 10 minutes before the matatu started moving. Now we have time taken, we have speed. Speed was given 65, time taken hours 10 minutes. So you are looking now for distance. How do you get distance given time taken and speed?
Speed and time taken.
Okay, so you end up with how many kilometers?
140.83 kilometers.
So it would have covered 140.23.
83.
0.83.
Yes.
It will have 140.83 away from town A. It will have covered 140.83 away from town A. So what distance would now the two vehicles be covering together? You say 460 less 140.83. You get what?
390.7.
We have 397.
319.17.
319.17.
319/6.
319 over 6. 319 1 over 6. Now, this 319 1 over 6 is what we call the relative distance.
Yes.
That will be our relative distance. The distance between the two vehicles when they are both moving. Distance between the two vehicles when they are both moving. The 140.83 is the distance that A covered before B started moving. The distance between the two towns was 460. So subtract the distance A, the minibus covered before before the matatu started moving, you get 319 and a 6. That is the relative distance. Now this relative distance is to be covered with this relative speed. We have relative speed of 145 kilometers per hour. We have relative distance of 6. So what we can get from that too is the time taken. Now, how do we get time taken?
Distance over
speed.
Distance over speed.
So what will be our time taken?
that in 6 over 29.
We have 13.
6 over 29.
You're getting 13?
6 over 29.
It can't be 13. We have distance as 90 and the speed is 145. Dividing those two cannot give you 13. 319 under 6 divided by 145 because we are taking distance. You get what?
2.2.
2.2
hours.
2.2.
Now 2.2 hours. I want you to
2.20.
convert the 0.2 hours into minutes.
2 hours 20 minutes.
0.2. This is 2 over 10. 2 over 10 times 6.
2 hours 12 minutes.
2 hours 12
minutes.
Not 2 hours 20 minutes. It is 0.2. So that means
12 minutes.
it is 2 over 10, 2 over 10 multiplied by 60. I want you to be on mute now. So 2 hours 12 minutes. What is 2
2 hours
hours?
12. It's a Randian.
We've gotten our answers now. Can you now mute so that we have one source of audio? Okay, these 2 hours 12 minutes is the time the minibus and the matatu will take to meet from 10:55. From 10:55, it will take 2 hours 12 minutes for the two vehicles to meet. From 10:55, it will take 2 hours 12 minutes for the two to meet. Now, what did the question want you to get?
How far from town B did they meet?
Yes?
How far from town B they met?
How far from B did the two meet? Now, for how long has the matatu been moving? For how long has matatu been moving before they met?
2 hours 12 minutes.
Now, what is the speed of the matatu?
80 kilometers per hour.
80 kilometers per hour.
Now, if you have the time it has been moving and its speed, what can you get from those two?
Distance.
You get the distance. So you'll say that the distance now from B to the point they are meeting will be the time the matatu is moving or it has moved times the speed of the matatu. Getting that product gives us what?
176 kilometers.
176 kilometers.
176 kilometers.
So 176 kilometers from B. I hope that is clearly understood.
Yes.
So in summary, know whether the vehicles are moving away from one another. That is one. And if you know that, you will know what to do with the speeds. If you are moving away from one another, it will take longer to cover the relative distance, and therefore you reduce the speed. You reduce the speed by getting the difference in the speed. Getting the difference in the speed reduces the speed because the relative distance is being increased by the vehicle in front while being reduced by the vehicle following it up. If they are coming towards a common point, moving in opposite directions, that means the rate at which the distance between them is being reduced is faster. And we get faster rate by getting the two speeds put together. So kama zina come towards one point, you put the two distances, or rather the two speeds together so that you get a faster relative speed. You get a faster relative speed by adding the two. Then after that, how do we define relative speed? Relative speed is the relatives, or is the speed that is viewed from the two vehicles. If they are running away from one another, one is chasing the other, they seem to be moving slower, and therefore we subtract. If they are approaching one another opposite direction, it means what? They seem to be moving faster, therefore we add the two. Then the next thing that you need to define is the relative distance. The relative distance, we've said, this is the distance between the two vehicles when both are moving. The relative distance is the distance between the two vehicles when both vehicles are moving. It is reduced faster when the vehicles are moving in opposite directions. It is reduced at a slower pace when the vehicles are moving in the same direction. One vehicle is trying to catch up with the other one. That's clear?
Yes.
Read the next question. I don't know whether you have the paper. Read the next question. Someone who has the paper. Mr. Okoyo, could you kindly share now the question because I... Okay.
Yes.
Now, part B reads, at what time did the two vehicles meet? At what time did the two vehicles meet? Now, can someone tell us, having done part one successfully, can someone tell us what time did the two vehicles meet? Anyone? Barak? Barak, your hand is up. If you are not giving any response, kindly stay on mute. Enoch Sabore, your hand is up.
107.
107?
107 p.m.
107 p.m. How did you arrive at 107 p.m.?
I took the time the two vehicles took to meet, and then I added the time of the matatu. The
Yeah, you
matatu.
take the time that the two vehicles took before they met. That is 2 hours and the 12 minutes. Then you add to the time that the matatu started moving. You'll get the time that the two vehicles will meet. Now, someone to read part C?
A motorist started from his home at 9:15 a.m. on the same day and traveled to B at an average speed of 120 kilometers per hour. He arrived at the same time as the minibus. Calculate the distance from B to his home.
Now that we are done with part A and it has some linkages with part C, I want all of us now to do part C. I want all of us to do part C. And maybe in the next class, we will start from giving solutions of part C. Mr. Okoyo?
Hello?
Maybe you can summarize.
Yes. You've given them a task to take, so I'm just waiting for them to do that part C. And they share their answer because sure it's related. We be fast, we are running out of time. Countdown, 8 minutes. I've seen 2 answers, but I can't tell who is correct. There is 464, there is 894, there is again 464. There is a 790 from Jeff Mwangi. There is another 790 from Jordan, 464 from Kimani Mitambo. Now, since I hope you've done and you are getting the various answers, maybe to put context to it, we first start by getting time taken by the minibus to complete the journey. When we find that time taken, we would get the time it arrived there. The time taken by the minibus to arrive at B. Now, time taken by the minibus is 460 divided by 65. 460 divided by 65. You are getting 7 hours and 5 minutes, right? Then time of arrival, time it reached B, is now the 8:45 plus 7 hours 5 minutes, giving you 3:50 p.m. It is arriving there at 3:50 p.m. Now, for the motorist also to arrive there at 3:50, for the motorist to also arrive there at 3:50, then we subtract 9:15 from 3:50. So you convert to 24-hour system, 15:50 minus 09:15. You will get what? 6 hours 35 minutes. So that is the time that the motorist should take to arrive at B the same time as the minibus. With its speed of 120 and time 6 hours 35 minutes. So it is 120 times 6, 35 over 60. you end up with 790 kilometers. So those who are getting the 790 kilometers have scored the correct answer. Sawa sawa?
Yes, sir.
Any question on what I've mentioned? I was not writing, I was just brushing through the question through word of mouth. Someone is asking, Andrew is asking, I pardon the answer. The answer is 790 kilometers. Sawa sawa? Are we all together and we are through with that question?
Yes.
Yes.
Very well. So if there is any other question to be asked within the minutes remaining, or a general question or inquiry, if there is none, then we stop at that point. You join in for biology, 11:30, end of term exams. Please tell your friends that Zoom in Abamba, they join us for the lessons.
Yes, sir.
You have a nice day and nice lesson. Machoka Moses, you raised your hand. So we log out, we rest for 30 minutes.
Zoom in Abamba. Please.
Have a good day, sir.
Unaongea kuhusu Arsenal?
Yes.
Team dog.
Wase walibe mtulie me. Sisi ndio tunasema sasa.
Wewe ni nani na wewe ni nyinyi ni akina nani?
Wasiti maji. Team kubwa. Express Ali game 38.
Comeback bado.
Nani? Comeback ya nani?
Liverpool ita comeback. Ngoja uone.
Toka hapa. Comeback
Aje
Mnacha-
sasa
mna-
walishalia jana, walishalia.
Comeback to Chelsea.
Mnapigwa
City washinde
2
games
games in a
zote
row.
tunashinda.
Mnapigwa jana.
Comeback to Chelsea.
Christian acha kuongea mingi.
Ulikuwa fai kuongea unyamazi.
Mimi msa Arsenal siniambie kitu.